So every December, people start acting like forgiveness is a holiday requirement, right? The lights go up, the music starts, and suddenly everybody wants to believe in miracles. And abusive men know that. They know that December is the one month that they can totally rebrand without anyone asking hard questions. What I'm going to say is going to make a lot of things in your past make sense, especially if you've ever second-guessed your reality around the holidays. Now, before we go any further, I need to say something that nobody wants to say out loud, especially not this time of year. You do not have to forgive an abusive man. Not now, not at Christmas, not at Hanukkah, not ever. Forgiveness isn't healing. Forgiveness isn't required for closure. And the idea that you need to forgive the person who harmed you to be free, that idea has kept more women trapped than any abusive man ever has. Forgive and forget? No. Remember and recover. By the way, I'm Lisa Sonni. I'm a toxic and abusive relationship expert and certified coach, and I help women understand trauma bonds, understand emotional abuse, break free, and rebuild their lives on their terms. I talk about the things that women live through, but aren't allowed to say out loud. If you want more truth without the sugarcoating, subscribe. Now, Dr. Ramani said something once that I have adopted as my own philosophy because it is exactly right. She said, I don't forgive them and I sleep fine at night. Same. And I'm telling you this now because this holiday pressure to forgive is so intense, right? Women get shamed into being nice and compassionate and understanding and, being the bigger person. Forgiveness isn't noble when the person hasn't changed. If it cost you your boundaries, it's not worth it. And more importantly, there is zero research proving that refusing to forgive an abuser harms your mental health. In fact, research shows the opposite, right? Healing comes from naming the harm, not erasing it. That phrase that I said, forgive and forget, let's go on a side thing here and talk about that. The phrase actually comes from 16th to 17th century English Christian moral teaching, and it shows up in early Protestant writings. The core idea is basically that true forgiveness meant wiping the slate clean so that no resentment remained. This was tied to the idea that God forgives sins and remembers them no more. So humans were expected to kind of imitate that, right? But, and this part matters so much, it was almost always directed at women, especially around marriage and family. Women are told to forgive. Men, they're told to repent. Well, guess which one got reinforced much harder? The idea that forgiveness is a moral obligation and a requirement for salvation is deeply Christian in origin. The subtext was always, good women forgive, bad women hold grudges. This isn't actually therapeutic, it's the opposite. It was social control. Mandatory forgiveness shows up anywhere patriarchal norms exist, not just in Christianity. You see it in other religions, in patriarchal families, in hierarchical cultures, right? But the Western idea that most of us grew up around, the you must forgive or you'll become bitter message, is specifically tied to Christian moral tradition, kind of blended into secular culture over the years. Now, it became common sense, right? Even in non-religious families, like the 1990s and the early 2000s, that self-help movement that really kicked off, it adopted forgiveness as a universal healing tool. But they didn't actually base it in research. They based it on Christian-influenced moral frameworks and they just dressed it up as psychology. And that's why so many therapists today repeat it without even thinking. There's actually no credible research proving that refusing to forgive an abuser causes psychological harm. The only benefit forgiveness has is when it's intrinsic, right? Meaning the survivor chooses it on their own as part of their personal value system, right? Not when it's pressured. So I want to say, if you want to forgive, do that. I just want you to have permission to not forgive. This is moralized, and that's not really fair, right? This is used to keep women in a harmful relationship. Forgiveness is optional, and it's personal, and it's not owed to an abuser. So as we talk about December, I really want you to hold on to, you never owed him forgiveness. You owed yourself safety. December isn't a season of change for abusive men. It's a season of performance. It's when abusive men clean themselves up, they act gentle and attentive and present, or if they're in the public eye, they drop an entire I've grown speech online, right? And the world eats it up because we're conditioned to want a feel-good ending to a really painful story. We want to believe that men who hurt women can transform, but the truth is actually pretty simple. They don't transform. They perform. December is like their stage, right? I'm not done. Let's get some real-life examples in here. Let's use Diddy, right? The guy denies everything for years. He denied every allegation. Poor him. Oh my God, he's being victimized. Another rich man being accused. He denied every claim of abuse, and people believed him. And then the video came out, right? Unedited, all close up to the camera. And suddenly he's talking about reflection and healing and spirituality and personal responsibility. Like he suddenly found his conscience. It wasn't honest and it wasn't growth. We all watched the video of what he did to Cassie. His videos after that, apologizing, it's just damage control. It's PR. But the wildest part isn't that he tried it, right? We expect that, don't we? It's that people believed him. They actually said, well, at least he apologized. He seems sincere. We should move on. That right there is the holiday mentality. People want closure. They want the arc. They want the tidy story. And abusive men know that. We all watched the video of him beating her, and people forgave him. Chris Brown follows the same cycle. That guy's music is everywhere all year, like the world collectively agreed to pretend that nothing ever happened. People act like he assaulted Rihanna once, apologized, and has spent every year since then making amends. That's not reality. Let's step into reality. The public record spans years, multiple women, multiple incidents, even altercations with men. The guy's violent. The culture still hits reset on him like it was some lapse in judgment. People will forgive him before they'll believe a woman. They will forgive him before they'll ever even remotely hold him accountable. And women who've lived through this abuse see this. And they think, if everyone forgives these men, maybe I should forgive mine too. Maybe what happened to me isn't that bad. But that's the trap. Me? I'm not separating him from his music. That's insane to me. That's unacceptable. Supporting his music is supporting him. You're putting money in his pocket and you're enabling him to continue his abuse of women. Not me. No, thank you. Now, then you've got guys like Mel Gibson, right? He's the perfect example of how men get handed redemption on a silver platter. Documented violence, recorded threats, misogyny, racism. It's all there. Nothing's vague about it. How did he get his comeback? Family content, faith content, fatherly roles, holiday movies, a whole rebrand designed to make people forget what they heard with their own ears. And his comeback wasn't the result of change. It was a performance tailor-made to fit what audiences want to feel: comfort, nostalgia, familiarity, and forgiveness. And Mel Gibson isn't even remotely the end of it. I could go on all day. Jonah Hill and those coercive control screenshots with the surfer, Shia LaBeouf, Armie Hammer, Louis C.K., Russell Brand, Justin Timberlake. The list keeps going. It's endless. The harm is documented. All of the accusations are public. The evidence is friggin' everywhere. The patterns are so obvious. I could spend an hour listing names. That's the real point. This isn't about one man or three men. This is about a system that hands abusers redemption arcs like party favors. You'll notice how all these men look different on the surface, but the redemption cycle is the same. That's what matters. It's not the individual details. People get caught up, and I have a feeling in the comment section, yeah, but Chris Brown and yeah, but Mel Gibson. I don't want to hear it. The pattern is right there. The pattern that you see in celebrities is the same pattern that plays out in real homes everywhere. And if you're here thinking, this sounds a little too familiar, hold that thought, because you're about to see exactly why you felt pulled back in every December. There's nothing wrong with you. The system is really set up to keep women confused. And keep watching, because what I'm about to say about December and your nervous system is going to hit home, okay? This is the thing nobody talks about. December is the easiest month for abusive men to sell the fantasy. They only have to be decent for what? 2 weeks? 3 weeks? They only have to put in minimal effort to look like they've turned a corner. And women are so conditioned to crave peace around the holidays, especially for the kids and for families, that even a slight change feels true. He starts to be a little bit better and you're like, oh, he's changing. This is a turning point. Oh my God, no, it's not. Now, I remember this one December with my ex, right? He bought me a really expensive gift. It was really out of character for him, something he would never normally do. He usually would throw together some last minute idea that truly had no thought. And even though I knew exactly who he was on some level, a part of me, a very, very tired part of me, wondered if maybe, just maybe, we had finally hit some turning point, because the gift was something that I'd always wanted. That's how dangerous December is, right? It preys on hope and exhaustion and on a version of you that kind of just wants one calm holiday. Can we just get through the holidays? But that version of you deserves peace. But that's why this works. Now, as an aside, when I said, wow, I always wanted this, he goes, I had no idea. he stumbled onto something that I'd always wanted. It wasn't even thoughtful. I was completely wrong. Every year, I see the same pattern with my clients. The man who ignores the kids all year shows up to the Christmas concert and acts like father of the year, right? Disneyland dad, whether he's married or not. The man who's been screaming for 11 months, suddenly calm and normal this time of year, right? The man who won't lift a finger, oh, he's going to help put up the tree somebody sees, right? Or he'll straight up refuse and make you do all of it. The man who hasn't bought you a gift in 5 years suddenly drops an impressive one in your lap. He's doing things around this time of year to convince you, but it's not change, it's a strategy because he knows that you're not going to leave him with the tree still up. He knows that you're not going to ruin Christmas. He knows that you'll feel obligated to give him just one more chance, right? He'll set some New Year's resolutions or some garbage. He knows you want your kids to have a normal holiday or that you're clinging to the hope that maybe if he's trying, then you're not crazy for staying. What you're responding to isn't him. It's literally the whiplash of all these changing moods and his changing behavior. It's your survival response. It's the trauma bond burning in your chest. Now, this is the part that I told you to wait for. December hits your nervous system differently because rituals trigger memory. Holidays trigger longing. The brain associates holiday with safety and love from childhood, even if childhood wasn't safe. So if an abusive partner is suddenly behaving, your system lights up. You get a flash of the man that you fell in love with. You get that hit of dopamine, a wave of relief. Might feel like love, happiness. It's relief. But it's not him resurfacing. He's rehearsing. He's performing. And since we're talking about rehearsing, let's talk about forgiveness again, because that was the point, right? This is another performance that abusive men rely on. Now you know the history of it, but listen, they want you to forgive them. They expect it. They count on it. He's entitled to it, isn't he? And the world backs them up by telling you that forgiveness makes you a good woman or noble, spiritual, or like evolved. But the truth is, forgiving an abusive man isn't healing. It's self-abandonment. You can release the anger without giving him a moral pass. I'm not saying hold on to this anger. I'm saying forgiveness isn't the method to let it go. You can let go of that longing without pretending that he's changed. Here's what you can do. You want to talk forgiveness? Forgive yourself for staying as long as you did, for believing the fantasy, for wanting love. You do not have to forgive him. Remember and recover. And we hate talking about how society rewards this performance, right? Society loves the story of the changed man. We worship redemption arcs. We let men wipe the slate clean on January 1st without doing any damn work. We tell women to forgive and to be patient. We tell women it's the holidays. Can't you just let go of the past? Can't you just have one more Christmas together? Can't you just, right? But no one asks why he wasn't willing to show up the 11 months of the year before this. That's the real question. Why now? Why is improvement seasonal? Why is good behavior always temporary, right? It never lasts past the decorations. This is why December is a dangerous month for women in abusive relationships. Not because he's nicer, but because everyone around you is invested in keeping this illusion alive. Your family wants photos, your kids want magic, social media wants matching pajamas. The world wants to believe that love wins. You want to believe that love wins. You want to believe that you can change this family, all these feelings and nostalgias all kicking around inside you, and you want this so badly. But love doesn't win when the person standing beside you is acting. Love doesn't win when you're being manipulated. You're being silent. You're being coerced into silence. Decency is conditional with these men. And I'm going to say something really hard. If you've ever felt guilty for wanting out in December, if you've ever sat in your car with Christmas presents in the trunk and cried because you didn't want to ruin the holidays or stayed longer, you weren't wrong. You've been targeted by someone who's abusive. Now, the performance was never really just for you, right? There's a whole audience, family, kids, his family, social media, everyone who gets uncomfortable when women tell the truth. January is when the mask comes off again. The yelling starts again and the coldness comes back, the neglect, his promises fade. He'll tell you he never made them to begin with. And now you're left confused again, asking yourself how the hell you got pulled back in yet again. This is the point where most women say, I should have trusted my gut. But you're not imagining things. You actually are truly just responding exactly the way any human responds to temporary relief after a prolonged period of tension. It's biology and it's psychology and it's survival. So if you're watching this and your partner is suddenly acting like a whole new man this month, ask yourself the only question that matters. Why now? Why not in June? Why not when you needed him? Why not when you were crying and begging? Why not when the kids needed him? Why only when the holidays give him an audience? Because December is not this man's turning point. I want you to see it more as like his spotlight, right? Now, if you're done falling for this performance and you're ready to rebuild for real, book a private session with me and I'm going to help you see through the manipulation and get really clear on what comes next. New year, new you, right? Now, if you want more videos that tell the truth about abusive relationships, subscribe and tell me your thoughts below. Comment, what have the holidays been like for you?